3, 2, 1. Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about there's a product we are working on, and the designers are not involved in that, and the developers are just working so faster. Development is going amazing. The features are just going out. The backlog was just clear, moving. Everything is going fine from the delivery standpoint. But the users weren't happy. They were just thinking about why it is not working for them, and it was as per the not expectations, and the feedback was about the product is not looking good, and that is very vague. I when I entered to it when I entered to this product and this project, it was first I saw there's an inconsistency, and from the design point of view, from the designer point of view, the eye to detail is something important, and I saw there's inconsistency throughout the product. And the users who are the non-technical users, they were not telling specifically because they are not knowing how the product user experience works, but they can see visually what is not working for them, and it is was actually harder to fix. While observing them, you can see there are things you can test it out with them, and this actually becoming harder to fix because nobody flagged is as a bug. So so the thing is, it's a small product and the team is very small, and the engineering is just moving fast. The development is going fast, and from the developer just makes the spacings decisions, colors, buttons, which is quite different from each and every screens, and each one is reasonable, but all of them is just making the product very unfinished. If you see, it will feel like you are just going back to the 10 years old or 5 years old design market standard. But the main problem was it was totally dependent on the cursor, and what the cursor does is there are so many hallucinations. It is coming from different sources of the data, and it's just building a product without the involvement of the designer. And that's the thing happened here. The problem was the cursor doesn't know how to define a design a product from the architecture level, from the layout level and everything, and it was not set up, and the development was going on with the product, how to build each and every of the components. So initially it was not set up. So the approach I took about the challenge was how I can set this up. I couldn't just slow down the engineering at the the faster the development was going and everything. I need to be on that level, and the biggest it was the one of the biggest advantages. But I wasn't going work in and say that I am just redesigning everything again, so it will be a blocker for them also. So I need an approach to work alongside and to make something which is in the existing build and not the against it. I can't do that, and I have to strictly follow because it came from all the way from the PMs and other stakeholders, something that gave the engineers a guardrails without just interfering what they're creating. I'm not wanting to have something friction. So what I needed is I just figured out you can do it on the Figma MCP connected to this cursor itself. And the another thing which is needing is a markdown file which is an MD file. Inside of that you will be having the design system, which you will be importing to the cursor itself, and it will know the tokens and everything at the core of the product. It will be understanding that how each and every of the screens of the product be consistent throughout across the platform. So the guidelines are always there, and always just something being read, and no extra step will be needing from the engineers. It will be pretty much the idea will be very simple. The cursor will be knowing the everything about the borders, components, spacings, buttons, primary colors, secondary colors, and everything. So let me show you first how the MD file looks like. With it, I will be showing you the dummy example because it is very confidential product, and so I want to show you a real way the process is, and in a dummy file. So here's the simplified version of how I'm working with you can see the inconsistency immediately. So this is something which the cursor came up with. So you can see over here, first of all, it is not a full width, and it is just the UI. But what you can see is it is not taken this full width. The second thing is there are so many functionalities which it can add, but it didn't add. And then next thing is there is also of the fonts which has been used very differently, and the contrast level. So there's so many things which a designer can find it out, and that was the hallucinations part. And I will come up with the MD file. What the MD file does is it will be sorting out the spacing radius, as I was talking about, the typography, the colors, each and every token. So for example, I just made it separately, and then I just made the extensions of the .md file. It is having a borders, top bar, agent selector, the content grid, everything, and which is something very important for the product in this type of the in this type of the scale where you have to be a faster, and this MD file lives inside the root of the cursor project. And every time this engineer is prompting anything to build any of the screen, so cursor will be calling this MD file itself, so that it remains consistent. It's not a suggestion, it's just a context it is building that's always been present. And what happens is when it is just calling this empty file, it knows how to be respecting these boundaries, and that won't be going across that, and that won't be going beyond that. It will be following those boundaries, what you have said, those guidelines, it will be always been there. And for example, if you're just prompting it to change the button, it will be always following the 8px radius which is there in the MD file, and it won't be going beyond that either. It won't be going 16 or 20 or something, and that's the difference. So after we set up this file on the cursor itself with the prompt, and the new screens improved significantly, engineers were making the different decisions, and cursor wasn't and because of cursor was just not letting them, but the guardrails were just built into the tool, and they were just already using. We didn't slow down the shaping or the something. We didn't add design or review step. We just made the rules available to the tool. That was just making the decisions making faster, and the user feedback doesn't change. Yeah, it was changed. After all, you presented it to the users, and they were seeing that there's so much of changes. They saw the progress, and it was a huge progress from there. And it was not overnight, but they were speaking about it was not vague, and something is failing off, because the thing that failed was really gone because of this process. And I want to share this something. The thing I took this approach is that design in this fast engineering isn't just owning the process. It's just how you can figuring out in the middle of the process how you can add that one minute thing that create that guidelines into that process, and everyone can follow it, mostly the engineers. And and they won't be asking designer every time. Then they need a spacing value design, because right now the MD file is always there. The cursor will be recalling again and again whenever any of the UI changes has been happened. And it is a very best kind. The Figma MCP piece is what connected to the my design work to their build environment without just anyone having to change anything. So Figma MCP is another thing. It will call the Figma design itself, and it will be understanding the layout and everything. And this is how I set it up. So first, it is just a normal file. It just created the UI with the different prompts. But what it does is, let me show you. I will just paste the Figma MCP over here. So for example, I will just go back to the Figma itself and just attach the file, which is I'm copying this Figma MCP, and I will just copy it here, which it will create the design, it will improve that design which is existing by the cursor itself. And I'll be also adding the, no, it's already been added, the MCP is already been added, so it is pretty much fine. I will just give it a run and let's see what happens. And I already dropped the MD file, so it knows what is existing, and the Figma MCP is just creating now the design which is existing on the top of that. And what happens is, if you want to see exactly how I set it up, the Figma MCP connection, just drop a comment. I will just make a separate video out of this, and I will cover this explicitly, how to set up the Figma MCP. Now it is just processing how the Figma MCP, by the way, it took the MCP file, I mean the Figma design file, which is there, and which is quite amazing that you can still see over here, but cursor called it, which is one of the prettiest thing that Figma cursor and everything has done. Now it is just building on the top of that what the cursor had did. It will just adapting the design language and everything, and it already knowing the MD file which is there on the right side, you can see. So it will be all right now. And this is one of the particular thing when you are the designer in the particular team of the product, and you are seeing the product in a sense that you are looking at the user experience, you're looking how the journey will be, and that is something important. But the engineers would be looking in terms of the functionalities, because that's the difference is coming over here. And the AI is hallucinating a lot. It will be coming up with some different components or something, and that is something we can't trust. And if you're trusting, so you can't say the product is working until unless you're fulfilling the expectations of the users. And that is something you need to drive as a as a product person. When the user expectations fulfilled, that means you knowing that your product is working, but you have to be following all those guidelines. And apart from that, it is what it is, but we can't trust the AI as long as it is not doing the hallucinations a lot. But I don't know what to say more, but we have to follow these processes. Even though the team and the product is going faster and shipping faster, you have to find how you can add something, a minute, where you can improve those design languages. And because it's a brand you are just following, it's not a product, you're not just making the product to work. It's just how you can make the product as a brand, and that's how the users will be communicating. So let's see, it will taking a time, I feel like. Okay, it's saying running this background. And this MD file is quite interesting that it knows everything. For example, this is the exact MD file, which is, it just explains the top bar, the agent selector card and everything, how the card looks like. It is having the background page color and everything is defined. So it took each and everything what I tried to putting it here, and it just passed through. That is something interesting. And now it has been telling me that I can open this. Let's see. Okay, it's not working. Okay, I need to pass this, that it is not working. But this is one thing which I was talking about, that this process really works, and this process will be fitting you in your process even though your team is going faster. So if you're a designer and working inside an engineering team right now and feeling like a product is drifting, so this is very amazing. This is a worth to try to, I might be wrong, or might be the process you can make it more easier, because you need to find out the processes, because it's not the human-centered design process we are following now. We are following how you can make it work as long as the user expectations are fulfilled. That's something, the outcome always we wanting to achieve. And I hope you like this video. Subscribe, and if you like this video, put a comment and subscribe some more. I will just come up with some different experiences and learning from my personal career life, and then I will just drop it on the YouTube. But thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have a nice and lovely weekend and lovely day. Peace.